The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
I think I've always believed in the paranormal, but the deeper I get in this field, the more questions I uncover. I started a program called Seeking the Paranormal in an effort to gain insight and dialogue from others interested in the same things as me. And while we've learned a lot together, the questions still remain. So I'm bringing my thoughts to the airwaves, and I've brought along my friends, Adam and John, to share in the fun. Together, we'll tackle the tough topics and debate the evidence as we continue to seek the paranormal. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is going to be our 17th episode of Seeking the Paranormal. I am Sarah, joined as always by John and Adam. And tonight we are going to reach into our case files for another juicy case of...
She said juicy.
Honest to God. I was just telling these two, perhaps it's I who should be drinking.
Yeah, but she also said case.
She did.
That'll get the accountants happy.
Yeah, there you go.
Briefcase. Ooh.
Dear God. So hopefully you caught us last week when we talked about the Doris Byther case. And unfortunately, Darren's not able to join us tonight for his part of the show.
No stumping.
So I have a question.
No Stumpy John tonight. I mean, Stumping John.
Come out.
You two done that?
No.
Why is it, do you think, fewer people know about the Doris Byther case today? Why is nobody talking about that?
Me personally?
Oh,
Let's stump at him.
Because nobody believes it.
Nobody believes Amityville today. And it's
Hello?
still a hotly talked about case.
I don't know.
Was there a book, The Entity? Yes, there was. Yeah, but that was kind of soft porn, and people were like, I didn't read it.
Do you
Yes,
think
they did.
maybe it's because in the book he did say that it was loosely based?
No.
Well, that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it, dang it.
So you think the book is the downfall of the story?
No, I don't think the book is, but I just think like Amityville, they said, this is the true story. This is truly what happened. But he straight, in The Entity, he straight came out and said, like, this is not exactly how it went down. You know, this is fictionalized based on a true story. So the fact that it wasn't listed as true from the get-go, I think maybe more people are turned off by it. That's my opinion.
I think...
I don't care if you think I'm not. How's that? Jeez.
I think the Amityville horror was just a better novel. Whether you believed it was true or not, it was a good novel. So... The Entity, however, was kind of, I thought. And it's also, you know, a little too explicit for some people's taste, maybe, or, you know, The Amityville is a good, you know, all-round Stephen King-like novel, I guess. It's the thing, whether you believe it's true or not.
I thought Frank did a fine job with the book. I don't know why people don't know about this case today. I think that it has a lot of parallels to Amityville. And it's very curious to me how many people you can say in this field to today. How do you feel about the Doris Byther case? And they're going to say, I have no idea who that is.
Well, they'll do what I just did. Is that the Demon House?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because that is a huge parallel right there.
It is. And that is what we're going to talk about tonight. So I asked Adam if he did research, and he said, I watched the movie.
I did. That was the extent of my research this week.
I've read the crib notes on the case directly. So,
all right. Well,
I've never seen the movie.
You didn't watch it?
I've never seen the movie. No.
Still today you didn't watch it?
Nope.
Why?
Because I don't believe it, and therefore the movie's not relevant.
I think you have to watch it to really form an opinion about it.
No, I meant if the case is real or not. I don't have to watch the movie.
No. Well, partially. the second part 2 of that you do. I mean, here's what I worry about with people like ourselves. Our dislike for Zach Bagans overshadows whether this could be a real case or not.
No.
Okay.
Not for me. I mean, that's true. Yeah,
That's
I don't
for
like
me.
Zach Bagans.
Because this case existed before Zach Bagans.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, I don't like Zach Bagans, but at least try to stay objective enough. I mean, there's lots of cases that I think are, or I've been to places where someone's talked about it and I think, you're full of horse hockey. But I still go and make my own opinion, if you know what I mean. So, like, well, Velisca. I wasn't too sold on Velisca when we went, but I went. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't disappointed.
No, I suppose not. All right. Well, before we get to that, tell people what you're working on with this ghost box, because it's kind of exciting.
No, non-disclosure agreement. Someone else will build it in front of me.
You don't have to give details.
I'm building a ghost box.
And it's new and improved.
Yeah. Well, basically, it hasn't got sweep up or down, but the one I've got going at the moment, you push, when you get to a place, you push a reset button, for lack of a better word. It'll go through and scan. It takes about a minute. It'll go through, find all the stronger signals, and then it just starts scanning. And what that gives you is all the cutoff, whatever the strength of the signal is, it'll just give you clear, pause to go to the next strong signal, go to the next strong signal. It'll just keep pulling the stronger signals. So there's no repetitive, which drives me crazy.
Yes.
So, and that one was built on the theory, people say ghosts use the radio waves and order them or change them or, the existing radio waves. So if that's true, this will work.
So what's your theory?
I'm not sure. I'd like to think that they do it directly, but I'm building another one to test that. So either way, I'll have one that works on either theory. We'll see how many we get out of each one.
All right. Anything else going on that's fun and exciting in anybody's lives?
I'm working on an all-in-one box, but that's going to be a way down the road. That'll actually take all of the measurements in one box, and it's portable, but it'll also have a USB plug. So when you take, if you're using it on a laptop as a central piece, it'll record all the data. So you can go back and look at it, and if there was a cold spot, you'll be able to see what temperature drop was, what time it was, all that good stuff. So.
What if, like Doris Byther, it's a cold case, but your thermometer will not register the cold spot?
Then you have no evidence.
Just asking.
Correct.
I mean,
then you have a personal experience.
I suppose so.
I mean, if it's not physically reacting on equipment, it's not happening. At least as far as temperature goes.
It could be a psychical experience.
It could be, but if you're feeling cold, it doesn't mean the temperature's dropped if it's not registering on a thermometer. If you see what I'm saying. You're feeling cold.
Yeah.
All right, that happens. I mean, hits your nerves tell your brain, oh, it's cold. If it's not actually getting cold, but you're feeling cold, that's...
So how do you explain the Doris Byther? You think they're just full of it? It's a room full of 30 people who supposedly corroborated the same story. I know, and I don't mean to rehash last week, because I think we all kind of agreed that it's weird that nobody else has come forward.
I'm going to be the hostile witness on that case, and probably
expect
this
nothing
one.
less.
It's not because I like this, just, I don't, there are too many things. So, for example, Doris, did she ever go out shopping, or did she have a job?
Well, according to her book, she went to a secretarial school. I doubt that was a real thing. I have a sneaking suspicion. I don't know what welfare was like in the 70s.
But she must have gone out.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't live just in the house.
I would suspect not.
And did any of these things happen at Walmart? Or, no, they never do in these cases.
No. I mean, in the book and in the movie, it happens while she's driving. I think that was fiction. I don't think that really happens.
So, it just, to me, it's just, well, that's inconsistent, even the witnesses aren't consistent. I have trouble with that.
Okay.
No, it's fair that I have trouble with that.
It is. It is. All right. Well, speaking of Barry Taff, everybody's favorite parapsychologist.
PhD.
Yes. Last week I did put his webpage up on our Facebook, so if you haven't had an opportunity to go and look at that, do so. Maybe see if you can find a podcast where he is talking about some of his cases, and you will understand why people have kind of a weird opinion of him. Anyway, my point was that he is also involved in the Demon House. And we thought, first of all, I think that this is an interesting case because there seems to be this, like, I don't know, there's just a group of people, a demographic of people, I guess, who think that anything Zach Bagans does is amazing. And so when Demon House came out, it scared the shit out of everybody. I'm going to say everybody. Obviously, I don't literally mean everybody, but it creeped some people out. And then there was a lot of speculation about whether or not it was true. And unfortunately, the house has been torn down, so we'll never know. There are people, myself included, who think that that was done strategically. But we'll never know.
What do you mean strategically? First strike of the Russians?
Yes. No.
Basically.
I believe he tore the house down so nobody else could go in there.
Who, Zach?
Yeah.
Why would he do that? I mean, he could rent it out to ghost hunters and make fortune.
Right, but if he faked it.
Wow. No.
Yeah.
Actually, even if he faked it, that doesn't matter. There's enough people go in there and go, oh, I felt this and this happened and that
I mean,
happened.
that's true, and that's what's happening at Villisca, but I honestly do think that played a part into why it was torn down, which means I've already kind of shown you my hand on my opinion on the whole thing. Now, while I do believe that there is, what's a good word here? Well, I do think there is some dramatization to this story, a lot of it. I do think there's a lot of factors that take place in the first half of the story. And I think it's worth at least considering, even if you have already made up your mind that LaToya Ammons, and her mom is Rosa Campbell, even if you've decided that their story is too crazy to be believable, I think you still have to sit back and just consider, could this have happened? Even though it sounds way too fantastic to really be a thing. So, for those people who are unfamiliar with this story, now you can catch The Demon House. It's a documentary, although it's funny because, what is this guy's name? Kenny Biddle wrote an article for Skeptical Inquirer, which is actually a really interesting site, and he has deemed this to be a mockumentary more than a documentary. He called it a pseudo-documentary. Meaning it is filmed in a documentary style, but doesn't portray real events. What is his quote?
Just like Paranormal Activity.
That was a good film, though.
Oh my god, I love it.
It was a good film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it didn't try to be true.
Right. But there was people when it first came out that thought it was true.
Yeah, the same with the Blair Witch.
Yeah.
Well, Blair Witch took people, and the internet was brand new at that point, but it took people a long time to figure out if that was real.
Well, that was part of their marketing, was outright lying.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
And people didn't realize that you were allowed to lie on the internet.
It was beautiful.
You know?
Well,
really?
You mean you can't lie on the internet?
I can't.
Everything on the internet's true.
I'm not. Even though I can't lie.
Okay.
There's a conundrum.
That is a conundrum.
Have you got the hiccup?
I'm going to need to think about that.
Demon House, like I said, you can find it on Amazon Prime. If you've got Prime, you can watch it for free.
And if you drive there, you can't find it.
That's true. It is torn down. It was a little house located at 3860 Carolina Avenue in Gary, Indiana. You might be able to find it online as the Ammons haunting case, or I didn't realize people were calling it the 200 Demon House, but we'll get to that in just a second.
That's a nice round number.
right?
Mhm.
So,
Not the 198
Nope.
right.
or the 203.
Nope. Straight up 200.
Yep.
You're missing 100 Spartans.
So, in November of 2011, Latoya Amons and her mom, Rosa Campbell, moved into 3860 Carolina Street. It was a rental property. Latoya had 3 children at the time. They were 2 boys, ages 7 and 9, and then a 12-year-old daughter. And it didn't take long before Latoya claims that activity started in the house. They would hear footsteps up and down the basement steps.
Actually, it started with flies.
Well,
Lots of flies.
yes. Which is interesting, and I think that's the tie-in and maybe the clue to this whole thing, because where else have you heard that story? Amityville.
Mm-hmm.
They had a ton of flies. So when they moved in, they started hearing things. They went out to they have a screened-in porch on the front of the house, swore that it was being swarmed with black horseflies. And this was December, January time. And they would kill them, and then they would come back immediately. Now, I have a theory, but we'll talk about that in a while. Along with that, like I said, they were hearing heavy footsteps up and down the stairs to the basement. Rosa claims that she saw wet footprints in the house, although that story has changed a little bit in the telling sometimes. Latoya claims that she saw a dark, shadowy figure in the living room. So there's lots of all these little kind of paranormal incidences that they're having. Then on March 10th, 2012 at 2 a.m. is when things really get kicked off. So a family member of Latoya and Rosa's had passed, and they had a group of people in the house, and they were commemorating this person. And the 12-year-old daughter, and we don't have the kids' names, so we're just going to call them by their ages. So, or I could make them up. I could make names up again.
We've been doing it so far. The names have been changed to protect the guilty.
That's right. So, 12-year-old has, I don't know if it's a cousin or a friend or somebody sleeping with her. They're in one of the bedrooms. They're asleep. Everybody else is out in the living room. And it's unclear what caused Latoya to go in and check on them, whether she heard something or just went in there. But all of a sudden, Rosa says she heard Latoya screaming for her to come in there, goes in, and 12-year-old is levitating several feet above the bed. Immediately, Latoya and Rosa kneel down and start to pray, and eventually the child comes down. She wakes up. She has no memory of what's happened. We've heard this scenario before as well. And a 12-year-old seems to be fine. It was just kind of one of those freak events. April 19th, and let me just say, periodically things are going really weird with the kids. So the kids start to fight with one another. She claims that they weren't doing that before. They became really aggressive with one another. At one point, Rosa went to break the kids up, and I think it was the 7-year-old who basically told her to get her fucking hands off of him, bitch. And Kenny, who is Latoya's brother, brings this story to our attention in the documentary and claims that this child would never speak like that. Claims the kids never fought. One story he also talks about is the kids were at his house and 7-year-old started some weird chant. He stopped, 9-year-old picked it up. He stopped, 12-year-old picked it up. And it was not a chant he was familiar with, but they started to act weird. And basically he's insinuating that they're possessed. Lots of other similar things happen, and we can get into further detail more. But on April 19th, Latoya's kind of had her fill of it, doesn't know what to do, so she takes the kids to the family physician, a Dr. Jeffrey, and I'm going to mispronounce
I can't
this.
pronounce it either. Umbajumba.
Yes.
Anakawu.
Anakawu?
I don't know.
Oniku? I don't know. It's Onyekwu. So whoever knows how to say that, more power to you. We'll call him Dr. Jeff. So takes the kid.
Dr. Phil.
Yes.
What are you doing?
That was very good.
That was
Especially
pretty
for
good.
an Englishman.
I say, what are you doing?
Takes the kids to Dr. Jeff. supposedly the kids start to act out again. They're very aggressive towards the doctor. And then the kind of culmination is when 9-year-old is kind of having a fit. Rosa grabs his hand and he supposedly walks backwards up the wall to the ceiling, flips over and lands. And by this time, Valerie Washington, a CPS agent, I don't know what they're called, CPS.
Child Protection Service?
Yeah, what are they? Whatever. Officer. I don't know what she is.
I guess. I don't know.
So Valerie Washington has been called in by the doctor's office to come see what her take is on the family. She says that she, along with another nurse, witnessed this, and she swears that when 9-year-old was walking up the wall and the ceiling, it was more like he was gliding, not like physically walking. We can share our opinions on that momentarily. The kids are kept at the hospital overnight, which is kind of weird, but okay. And the next day is 7-year-old's birthday, so he's 8 now. And the hospital calls, says, hey, you can come visit your kids. So LaToya goes to celebrate 7-year-old's birthday, and when she gets there, she's told that, hey, P.S., you're not going to get to take your kids home anymore. So
that's an important point. I've got a note right there.
It is. It is. So her kids become kind of wards of the state at that point. Michael, it's Father Michael, is it Maginot? Maginot. I'm going to call him Father Michael because that's how he refers to himself.
Wait, Michael.
He receives word from the chaplain of the hospitals and is basically requested to come and do an exorcism over the kids. And his response is that he'll talk to the mom in a couple days, which I'm assuming this maybe was a Friday because he said that he'll talk to him on a couple days after Mass. And he meets with LaToya and Rosa then on the 22nd.
It's good to see that the church take possession so seriously that we'll get back to you in 3 working days if you have the devil inside you.
Exactly. So Father Mike has a conversation with LaToya and Rosa, and it lasts about 4 hours, and they recite what is happening to them. And he tells them that their house is infested, and
Did you say what with?
Well, he did tell them. And again, stories change. So, one place Father Mike has said that he figured out that LaToya had the demon in her. Another place he says that did not come until later. Another place he gives it a different place on the timeline. So it's kind of unknown. But yeah, basically said the house was infested with demons and he decides to bless it before he leaves and tells LaToya and Rosa that they need to stay elsewhere. Now, somewhere in the interim here, LaToya invites some clairvoyants who have, as of this,
3 exorcisms, 2 in English, 1 in Latin.
Right, we're not there quite yet. No. But yes, he did. You're correct.
Yes.
But somewhere in this mix here, after meeting with Father Mike for the first time, they call in some clairvoyants. And what's interesting to me is that as of this recording, those clairvoyants, to my knowledge, have not come forward. But that is where the 200 demons come in. So the clairvoyants told LaToya and Rosa that there were 200 demons infesting the house.
That would have been a great seance. I would want to, well, not a fly on the wall because I'd probably get raided, but I'd love to have been there because you got the clairvoyants, they're all sitting there going, 1, 2, 3, oh, bugger, I've lost. Look, start again. Can you line up? Stop moving around. Yeah.
Yeah.
To take off my shoes.
So between the clairvoyants and Father Mike, who was, in my opinion, really quick to deem the house infested, they, I don't know, they're not getting good advice, I guess, from people. It's after this that a lot of people start getting involved in this case. And the first time I watched Demon House, the fact that there were police officers, not only that, it's a police captain is involved and he seems very disturbed by what's going on in the house. It wasn't until I did more research and realized that Captain Austin started coming to the house after hours, off the clock, asked if he could come with Valerie Washington out of what he said was professional curiosity. Well, come to find out, like the three of us, Captain Austin is also interested in the paranormal. And so his interest in this case did not have anything to do with his profession. It had everything to do with his hobby. So that takes a little bit of his credibility away from me a little bit in the documentary, because in the documentary, he's presented as
in an official
police captain, yes.
And the newspaper that reported on it that made it a big story, I can't remember which one it was now because it's late and I've been working. But anyway, they put a picture in their article, and everybody thinks it's a press photographer took it.
Yes.
It wasn't. It was him.
Yes. And he took it on his iPhone, and actually we've had that as our picture of the week. So if you go back several episodes towards the beginning, one of our pictures of the week was from Demon House, and it's the one where people think it's a demon standing in front of in the porch area. And that was actually taken by Captain Austin on his iPhone. And again, not in an official capacity. Later, he does take some pictures, and they are put into a file with part of a police report that he claims that there are 2 apparitions in, but...
What happened to the other 198?
I don't know.
They were hiding.
They all got arrested.
And the pictures I can't find. So I don't, I know that LaToya signed releases to the lady from the Indy Star who did the initial report in 2014. LaToya signed releases for all of her, police records, medical records, psychiatric records, everything. She released all of those things to this reporter, which is real dumb, but whatever. So if everything has been released to this reporter, it's weird to me why those pictures haven't been posted yet, but...
Probably because there's nothing in them.
I would suspect that could be a thing.
Just my guess.
So on April 29th, so by this is a week after the ladies have kind of officially moved out, LaToya, Rosa, Valerie Washington, and Captain Austin, and then another officer who asked to join out of professional curiosity, returned to the home. A lot of it
going around in this case, isn't it?
Yes.
God, I want to have some professional curiosity for some places.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So they returned to the home, basically so LaToya and Rosa can kind of recite what they think is going on. The children don't become official wards of the state until sometime in April. Well, I guess we did talk about April 20th, so probably just a little bit after that, then the kids do become official wards of the state. And they're sent to actually separate homes. So the 2 oldest go to one, orphanage, basically. I don't know. I didn't write down the name of the home, and the younger one goes to a home by himself.
Annabelle's School for the Creepy.
That might be it. So on May 10th, LaToya, Rosa, Captain Austin, 2 other officers, Father Mike.
So now there's 3 officers?
No. So, yes, 3.
So 3 total.
Not yet. Father Mike and 2 Lake County canine officers, as well as another CPS worker, I guess we're calling her. Illick is the last name. Visit the house again. Now, we talked about the exorcisms. Father Mike had conducted, as you said, 3 exorcisms total. 2 in English, 1 in Latin. Now, part of that, he did tell LaToya that she needed to put the sign of the cross and oil around her house. So she has taken olive oil all over her house to put the sign of the cross and to whatever. I don't know what she thought she was doing. Whatever Father Mike told her to do.
Yeah, you got to use Pennzoil.
I heard Quaker State is better.
So she has, and in fact, when she visited the kids at one point, she put oil on their feet and oil on their foreheads, and she was going all out with this. Right. She also lined her basement in salt to create a barrier. Now, supposedly this also came from Father Mike, and that's interesting to me because I think that's very...
That's not Catholic.
No, it's not. And it's very like something you would get from a paranormal group, who tells you to go and sage.
That's like the
So it's weird to me that he kind of threw this out, which again, I think speaks to, I don't know about Father Mike. I don't know.
Blame Father Mike.
I think he may be at the root of what's happening here. Anyway, so May 10th, a shit ton of people go to this house. And they notice oil dripping in the basement on the wall. And then they notice an oil on the blinds on the main floor. Now, supposedly, this Illick lady touches the oil, and not very long after, all the blood supposedly drains from her hand. And there's a picture that they show in the documentary, and her hand looks completely normal to most people who watch it. You could find the picture online. But she claims that she got, I think, sensation and pain, and then the blood all drained from her hand after touching this substance. She said it felt very...
How does that work?
I don't know. She said it felt very wet.
Did she have like a balloon on her wrist or something for her blood? Or?
It's possible. It is possible. Well, and we'll talk here in a minute about all the fun things that happened to Ms. Illick. What she says after she visited the house.
Am I going to need,
Yes.
Oh, my word.
You might need a refill.
Why do I do this to myself?
So, while they're investigating, and let me tell you, they are legit doing a paranormal investigation. There is no two ways about it what's happening right now. They are doing a paranormal investigation in this house, and they go straight to the basement. The canine does not hit on anything in the house. So good news is there's either no drugs or no bodies there. I'm not sure what kind of canine it was. There may not be any bombs either. So,
well, actually, that might be the new improved K2 meter.
There you go. It could be.
What's that?
We've got 3 of them upstairs.
7 versions in front.
Yeah.
A K9 meter.
Very nice.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody's so tired. They're like, oh, I got it.
Yeah.
That was almost funny. Glad you did that.
Listen, I've been up since 4, so yes, you got me about right.
Okay.
So dogs didn't hit anything. They see the oil. Father Mike suggests that because in the basement, everything is cement, so it's not a finished basement. It's just kind of a cement pad, except underneath the stairs to get down to the basement. And underneath there it's just dirt. Now, I did see something in Kenny's article when I was reading that says that a lot of that was actually sand. So Gary must be by Lake Michigan, I would suspect. Here's my geography for you. I have no idea.
It's not far. I mean, it's because you got Chicago and go across and Gary, so
yeah, so it's
not far.
It's pretty close to the lake. So anyway, whatever's under there, some of it's sand, but there's dirt underneath there. And just trying to find my note about what all we found under here. So Captain Austin starts digging. And he digs a 4-foot by 3-foot hole.
Why?
Well, because he suggests that area could have been used for rituals or necromancy, and even suggests that it's possible that a body could have once been buried under there.
Under the stairs?
Yes.
Who goes under the stairs to do a necromantic ritual?
You will have to get a hold of Father Mike and
actually,
ask
though,
him.
Guess what? In the Amityville horror, wasn't the hole to hell under the stairs?
It was the red room. Mm-hmm.
There you go. It was under the stairs.
So,
oh, maybe everybody does it under the stairs.
Well, maybe.
Might have to check mine out.
Items found in this area include a pink press-on nail, so basically a fake nail, a fake fingernail, a pair of white women's panties, a pen to a shirt.
How'd you know they belong to a white woman?
Do you people see what I deal with?
No, they don't see us at all.
They don't.
Actually.
Do you hear what I deal with? A lid to a pan and other garbage. I mean, so in the...
Kids' socks, wasn't that something too? Did you say that already?
No.
A couple of kids' socks.
It may have been.
Yeah.
In the documentary...
I cannot put together a scenario that would involve a pan, someone's underwear, And a nail falling off.
Well, and I think that Father Mike was insinuating that these were very personal items.
Did he lose a nail?
He may have. He didn't report
Did he lose
that.
his underwear?
That is also a really good question.
I know.
So they don't mention it, but again, this is the nice thing about this Skeptical Inquirer. They've freeze framed part of the documentary so they can see the document that Zach's reading off of. And while it's listing these items, so women's panties with some designs on it, blah, 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 it actually says, and other garbage. Zach doesn't mention that, though, interestingly enough. So it seems very...
There was a claw down there that science can't explain.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would have done. If I'm going to lie, I'm going to go big.
Well, go big or go home, right?
Yep.
So once they find this stuff and, Father Mike says, oh, this is necromancy, kind of laying out the guidelines for what's to come, he puts up another salt barrier and tells them that the oil that they're seeing is a demonic manifestation. So...
It's from the demon
right.
granola.
So upstairs where the CPS worker touches the oil on the Venetian blinds, Austin and his buddies go in there and they wipe it off really well. And then they close the door and they don't let anybody in there because they want to see if this is something that LaToya and Rosa have done or if it's something that's happening like Father Mike says. And 20 minutes later, they go in and the oil is supposedly dripping down.
Do they look up?
I don't know. But we'll go back to Amityville. And they had a black slime.
Yep. More blood.
Yeah. Or maybe both.
Yeah.
Or was it the toilets turned black? And it might have been blood coming out the wall. I don't know. Anyway, they had shit coming out their walls as well.
Yeah.
So... if you haven't picked up yet...
They couldn't afford enough oil to do a whole wall, so they just did it on the blinds.
Correct. If you haven't picked up yet, there are a lot of similarities between this story and Amityville. And interestingly enough...
With a little exorcist thrown in.
Correct. Zach says in the documentary that this is the next Amityville. So, and I'm sorry, I did jump ahead. June 2012 is when Father Mike performs his 3 exorcisms. So jump ahead to November and LaToya regains custody of her kids. Now there's stuff happening in the interim here. I'm just kind of trying to give you kind of a broad base of what's happening here.
Allegedly. Don't want to get sued.
Right. So November 2012, LaToya has fulfilled the requirements of CPS to get her children back. She does so, and by January 24, 2013, CPS has dropped all charges against her, claims the kids are now well adjusted, and she is parenting more appropriately. I'll talk about that in a second. January 25th, 2014 is when the Indy Star ran the first story about the incident. They interviewed LaToya and Rosa, and this threw it into the spotlight, like, internationally. I mean, not just here, but I mean, everybody was then talking about this demon house. So it's not too long before Zach claims at the beginning of the documentaries, but he called him, told him that he needed to check this house out, and he bought it sight unseen for
$55,000.
35.
35. Wow.
35,000. January 2016, the house is demolished. So 4 years, basically. And then in May 16th of 2018, Demon House was released. There's so much going on here. I want to talk a little bit more about LaToya's claims. I'm just really kind of disturbed by, and I don't know if it's fair of me to be, but I'm really kind of disturbed by Captain Austin and the other officers who were involved, and really Father Mike's part in all of this. I did forget to tell you the good stuff. So, Illich I think is her last name, says that within 30 days after visiting the house and touching the oil, she had 3 broken ribs from jet skiing, 3rd-degree burns from a motorcycle. She broke her hand hitting a table and broke her ankle while running. Now, I did find...
She's a little accident prone,
She is.
Yeah.
In the Skeptical Inquirer, she was actually running in flip-flops, which is why she broke her ankle. And
Gandhi used to do it all the time.
Huh?
Gandhi used to do it all the time.
Right, there you go. Kenny Biddle does a really good job of, he lists out a bunch of things that happened to him within the last 30 days. And he said, now, if I tell you these things without including all the good things that have happened, it makes me sound like I'm possessed or like I'm cursed as well. So, yes, I would agree with you. She's definitely...
I was going to say, if I start telling the story of my life, I'm clearly cursed.
Right. Now, the home inspector who came to the house twice, there's no time frame, but Zach claims that a tree nearly fell in his car while he was driving home. He was choked in the night by an unseen force while he was sleeping. And this is my favorite. He developed cancer.
Who, Zach?
No, the home inspector.
Oh, right.
So the cancer is because of a demon. Not to be outdone, Father Mike throws his favorite story, or his story in there as well about what happened
I was
to him.
accused of being a pedophile. Oh.
Surprisingly
Probably
not.
too soon.
Sorry, too soon?
I was trying to see if I could...
Hello, I'm Father Micah.
So I was trying to see if I could find Father Mike's story. I've got it highlighted. I have like 7 pages of stuff open and highlighted here, so it, of course, it's going to be impossible for me to find anything. But basically, he was riding his bike and says that he was thrown from it. Oh, here we go. Priest adds his own anecdote, a time when he fell off his bicycle, which was turned into thrown down from his bike. He blamed the demon. And then Captain Austin also has some bad experiences. He tells a story about slipping on ice 2 days after visiting.
Oh my God, that's unusual.
Yeah.
Captain Austin was also shot during a home invasion call he responded to. He did recover from that. He's not dead or anything. But of course, Baggins leads us all to believe that that is also tied to his involvement with the house. So
if not just good things happen to you from then on out, you're cursed.
Right.
Is that basically what
I think so.
We're hearing?
Because the fun doesn't end there.
Please make
Thank
it end.
God.
Please make it end. This is so much fun. I don't know what to do with it all.
During the documentary, while Zach's there kind of checking out the house, and I will note
it
that
fell on him.
We wish.
And someone stole his red slippers.
Wouldn't that have been fantastic?
It's red.
Nobody prior to LaToya Amons living in this house complained of any type of activity. No one after her either. And there were some squatters who were in the house when Zach got there. Now, I don't know that they were actually squatters. I believe they may have actually been renting the property.
Or it was the aforesaid paranormal investigating people chucking oil over everything.
Also a very good possibility. They tell Zach when he first gets there that nothing has happened to them. He then is talking to the male part of this duo, and once he starts shelling out, Zach starts shelling out some money, all of a sudden this guy has stories. But of course, Zach, being the genius he is, thinks that this is legit. So he thinks the squatters did actually have, you want to pay me? I'll come up with all kinds of stories.
I was going to say, we got any stories? No. I'll pay you if you do. Okay.
Right.
Then I've got some stories.
What kind of stories? Is this house haunted? Yeah.
And you're talking about Gary, Indiana, which has been like murder capital of the world. Nobody there has jobs because their economy is so bad. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but these people will tell you,
Gary, Indiana listeners.
Right. These people are in need of money, and I'm not trying to kill their credibility, but
they had any?
Now, they might have. So, I was just trying to see if I could find the date that Zach actually showed up at the house for the first time, and I can't, but All right. But on December 18th of 2014, while Zach is there with his camera crew, and he had just been there, just talked to the squatters, whatever, a former owner named Mika shows up. And she has her 3 kids with her. Zach takes them into the house. Now, before going in, he does tell them that the house is believed to be the current domain of at least one demon, possibly 200.
Somewhere between 1 and 200.
Right.
It's the demon lottery.
And asks Mika if she's okay with the kids going in. So I actually made a note for myself at this point, and it's funny because as I was reading articles on this case, several other people kind of pointed out similar things. Zach either doesn't believe that there's a demon in the house because he's letting children go in there, or he just really doesn't care about anybody else's well-being. If he truly believed that there was a demon in this house and he's letting children go in there despite what their mother says.
I'll give you a little aside self-realization when you watch him and you do psychology on him. From the way he speaks to his body language.
Not to. Yeah.
Okay? He doesn't believe in the paranormal.
I would agree with you.
To him, he's listed as an actor on the, if you go for his agent. That's his thing. He's acting. He's an actor. He doesn't believe in it.
I'm not even going to argue with you on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I came here for a good argument. I've had one all night.
Oh, I'll argue with you about some stuff. I'm not going to argue about that one.
I could win that one.
So Mika lets her kids go in, and, she didn't have any stories, but he walks her around, and she says, this is where my room was, and whatever.
Well, hang on a minute. She took him in there, too. What does that tell you?
Well, I'm not...
Call CPS on her.
Right. Look at Latoya, So they go down in the basement. Mika says that her brother, who is now deceased, stayed down in the basement, which seems like it'd be a really shitty bedroom. Probably cold, unfinished basement. Anyway, so they're down in the basement, and while they're down there, Mika feels like she gets kicked. She blames it on her son. He swears to God he didn't do it.
Zach's giggling in the corner.
Right.
Yes.
Basically. They leave. Not a lot happens with Mika until fast forward to the 20th, so 2 days, I guess. And come to find out, Mika's daughter, Mika calls Zach, says that her daughter just attempted suicide by overdosing on some medication and stabbing herself. She tells Zach, I'm still waiting for the police to get here. It didn't even occur to me when I heard that until I read the Skeptical Inquirer. Why in the fuck is this woman worried about Zach Baggins when her daughter just tried to take her life?
Wasn't she in the car on the way to the hospital?
Correct. So, basically, garbage.
That was under the stairs.
Well,
the garbage.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Zach talks to one of Mika's family members, and they say that daughter stabbed herself in the wrists. Come to find out, what the family member really said was she tried to stab herself in the wrist with something small that resembled a pen. My theory on that is that this is a teenager. My daughter, personal story here, Adam came home from work one day and my daughter was in her room acting very strange, seemed very out of it, was flying off the handle, acting very uncharacteristically of herself.
She was possessed.
Because she took a pill from a kid and had no fucking clue what it was. We ended up in the hospital that night. Mm-hmm. I can very easily see, I have to imagine there is a huge drug problem in Gary, Indiana. I have no doubt that Mika's daughter probably took something, probably some medication, maybe some drugs, similar to what my daughter did, because they're geniuses, and then flip the fuck out. Another story. I had a friend who, when I was in college, he ended up dying. And what was interesting was he had a knife broken off in his chest and another one in there. Well, come to find out he was on meth and had stabbed himself, broken the handle off, and was still able to go get another knife. I mean, people do weird shit when they're on drugs, is my point. So I have no doubt that Mika's daughter probably took something, probably lost her ever-loving mind, may have taken a pin to her wrist. I don't know what a pin was going to do, but maybe she was trying to make a point.
Literally.
Yeah. Mika does comment that her behavior was completely abnormal. So Zach's over here telling us in the documentary that this is basically stigmata. In fact, he says that, and up on the screen puts the definition of stigmata.
No, stigmata is unexplained bleeding.
Correct.
Right.
Pen explains the bleeding.
Correct.
Not stigmata.
Yeah.
No.
That
Sketcherama.
That and she didn't have any marks on her feet.
No.
So.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, I guess the daughter's name is Erica. 3 weeks later, Zach takes Erica to, any guesses?
The Demon House.
Father
Mike!
Man, I would have taken back the Demon House. Experiment doesn't count unless you do it twice with the same results.
And in the documentary, Father Mike does a exorcism on her, which I would consider probably a minor exorcism, which is what he started out doing on LaToya. And there's a difference between a minor and a major.
There shouldn't be. There's the exorcism.
The Catholic Church has a difference.
They've got the exorcism ritual.
The minor exorcism rite is basically just deliverance prayers.
Yeah.
And in fact,
Which
what you
not
get
really an exorcism.
Right.
There's an exorcism ritual.
Yeah. That's the major, what we're thinking of. The minor, which is again what I believe he did to Erica and what I know he started out doing to LaToya, is similar to what one would get before they were baptized.
Sorry. It's just my head is that at the moment. I've got a picture of a priest going, well, we're going to try the minor exorcism. Would you leave, please? Now we're going to try the major one. No, you've really got to leave now. Get the fuck out.
Right. And in the documentary, it is so anticlimactic. Like, she appears to be having some uncomfortableness and kind of tenses up, and then her head drops, and then it's done.
She fell asleep.
I mean, really, it's kind of what it looked like. So, Mika did claim that Erica had a 6 carved in her back. You know,
Did people get... Hockey?
She might have. People get so worked up about the 6 being...
It's the number of Nero, 666.
But, I mean, people get so worked up about anything with a 6 in it has to be demonic related, and that just is so annoying to me.
No, but 666 really was Nero. So, it's got nothing to do with demons. It's Nero. It's the Nero number. I've got a 6 on my back. Oh, Nero, is that it again?
There you go.
It's Nero. It's got nothing to do with demons.
Yeah. But I mean, Zach...
Unless it's 999. But that's Nero on his head.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So, that's Nero doing a handstand. Sorry.
You're fine.
665 will be Caligula. No, not Caligula. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
You keep going up to these numbers.
It's numbers now, I can't help it.
So anyway, Father Mike did a whole lot of...
Claudius, sorry. Claudius, before you bugs the crap out of me.
Oh, God. Father Mike did a whole lot of exorcisms related to this story, including on the house, which I don't know. Adam, you tell me because you're Catholic. Do they actually do exorcisms on the house within the church, or are those just blessings?
I guess I don't know. I mean, I would say it's just more of a blessing. Yeah, I
don't know. I can't see as how you could exorcise a house.
Yeah, I don't either.
From the theology that I've done. I mean, I'm not a Catholic
Well,
theologian.
And here's my problem with that. So, being a Christian and having read quite a bit on demonology, do not consider myself a demonologist. However, I consider myself a reader. Demons' whole goal is to take over a human soul. What purpose would they have taking over a house? Well, that serves them literally no purpose.
The same purpose of taking over a doll.
Correct. Absolutely.
It doesn't make sense. It's stupid.
Absolutely. 100%.
If I was a demon, I mean, the only ones probably that goes into doors or houses are like the rejects. They're like, can I hang around with you? No, go, here, look, get that doll. If you get that doll, that will surely lead to something.
Right.
Like, I'd take over somebody like John Cena or something. Yeah. Some big dude.
Yeah, just go kicking the crap out of people.
Right.
So,
I'd take over someone. I mean, really, you take over people like presidents or
somebody of power because that's their purpose. Yeah.
And they're more corruptible than anything, apparently, politicians.
Sounds like.
You know? No,
aren't we going through impeachment hearings now?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't watch
sides.
the
I'm
news,
saying in general, you know, and not just US. I mean, look at all the other ones. You know.
That's why I don't watch the news.
Look at Syria. Yeah.
The whole world's a hot fucking mess right now.
See, I want Zach Bagans to buy Syria.
Oh,
and go live there.
What'd you know?
Man could dream.
I'm kind of jumping all over, and I apologize for that, but I just clicked on one of my screens and it had it up, and it's probably one of my favorites. So going back to Skeptical Inquirer and Kenny's article here. So the way the documentary starts is the screen comes up with a warning that says the following documentary may not be suitable for all audiences. This film shows real people, places, and events involving alleged demonic possession. Demonologists believe that demons can attach themselves to you through other people, objects, and electronic devices. The next screen says view at your own risk.
Who alleges that they can?
Demonologists.
Yeah. No.
Adam Lorraine Warren, probably.
No. So the Catholic Church has come out and said...
No.
Oh.
No, the Catholic Church is not.
Zach Bagans came out and said.
So
then it goes to Zach, and he says, I'm one of the world's leading researchers on ghosts and demonology, as he's...
When did that happen?
Well, that's what's funny about
when he named himself.
And he's having, kind of introducing himself to the whole world.
The world's sexiest ghost hunting, though.
Right. In case you don't know
Look at the size of my glasses that don't have lenses in them.
Yeah, now we'll get to that part too.
All right, sorry.
So he's basically just introducing himself to the world. Says, I'm one of the world's leading researchers on ghosts and demonologists. And this is what Kenny says. I found this to be an odd and bold claim. I checked his Wikipedia page, categorized under pseudoscience, and various sources for references to published papers or articles that presented his research. Besides his TV appearance, he co-authored 2 books, Dark World, Into the Shadows, with the lead investigator of the Ghost Adventures crew, and I Am Haunted, Living Life Through the Dead. I could find no listing or mention of Bagans associated with any actual research. No articles, papers published in journals, not even instructional videos. He seems to be basing his claim on his highly dramatized television series and appearance on other shows. This certainly does not qualify one as one of the world's leading researchers on ghosts and demonology or anything else.
I am so shocked. I'm going to write to the BBC and complain.
You're always complaining BBC.
Well, that's what one complains to these days, isn't it?
If you're British, I think so.
No, anyone can. They've got BBC International.
That's true. News. We do have the BBC channel.
Yeah, see, we can all complain
every once
to the
in a while
BBC.
they play.
Make them earn their pay.
Every once in a while they have good stuff on there. So Bagans goes on then to say this current case is the next Amityville, which to me, my opinion, right there, that is him telling you this is all a hoax, but it's a really good one.
Or insert bestseller.
Right.
Because that's what Amityville was.
Yeah.
So this is the next.
Honestly, I think that right there is his admission. Now, anyway, so he goes on talking, and then he says, the truth is, this film is cursed. So basically, he wants people to be afraid to watch this movie because he's already told you that you're going to get possessed or could get possessed because these demons can reach out to you through electronics.
It is cursed. I can prove it. If you sit and watch it, your IQ will go down.
Listen.
You've watched it, haven't you?
Several times.
Oh, my word!
Yes.
And you can still write?
I know.
That explains why I've been so confused all week.
I'm staying away from it.
I wish I could have recorded watching my son-in-law watch this documentary the first time because he was shitting his drawers. Now, he's not really, this stuff interests him, but he's not done any of this stuff. But he was so scared. It was good.
Then we told him it was fake.
We did. So.
Has he seen Elf yet?
Oh, we're sorry, John. We love you.
He's probably not listening.
Probably not. So Zach says that he felt ill. Crew members quit or had to be fired. He had one of each. One quit after Erica hurt herself. A crew member quit, and I didn't get the reason for it. And then he ended up firing one named Adam, and we'll talk about Adam here in a second. Witnesses and experts ended up in the hospital, and it took 3 years to finish the film. I think that was because he was slow on the go. I don't think that was anything else.
Run out of funds.
Yeah.
He's buying everything.
I looked it up. Zach Bagans is worth $5 million.
That shocked me. I thought he was worth more than that.
How much of it is tied up in his stuff that he's buying?
But it would still be part of his value.
Yeah, it is. Until, let's say, in 5 years, it goes out of vogue. It ain't worth crap.
Well, 5 is so low to me, though.
I just figured it would be a lot more. I figured it would be a lot more.
No, you don't get paid that much for that kind of stuff.
Well,
it's not like he's making Hollywood blockbusters or anything.
Well, he's one of the shows keeping the Travel Channel going on the weekends.
He's the world.
If you think about what you just said, it's the Travel Channel, and he's keeping it going. Because if not, it wouldn't travel. No.
Good Lord, people.
Sorry. Yeah,
he's the world leading paranormal investigator and demonologist.
I know, it makes me feel small.
He should be worth more than $5 million.
It is me bloody resorting to try and do scientific method. All I gotta do is find a camera.
I did tell Sarah too. I did tell her, I said, I don't know. There, $5 million, I know that's not like his cash value. But I'm thinking to myself, I'd be a douche for $5 million.
I'm one for free.
You heard it here first, folks.
I'm just saying,
I do it as a hobby. I do it for free.
Well, you should
I'm an amateur, not professional.
No, we need to be professional then.
Yeah, if I get paid,
I mean,
I could maybe ramp it up.
We could take a video or something. We could rip our shirts off and stand on top of the stairs.
Please.
What?
That's what he did.
No, that's porn. That's totally different. If somebody told you that's just, no,
that's what Zach did in one of his episodes.
That's how you got into those movies. Somebody lied to you.
Darn it!
They said it's an art form.
There's paintings though.
We're doing Art Nouveau. It's not porn. We do it in black and white. We can call it Art Noir. No, wait, it can't even be porn. No, give them the web address where the films are that Adams are in.
Nobody wants to see.
It's called douchedoesporn.com.
That's probably a real website.
It probably is. You probably just advertised something real.
Give me money.
Only, I think the douche is going to be a different kind of douche.
Okay, I'm going to steer us back.
That is a very vinegary statement, and I don't like it.
Jesus! God!
Oh, my cheeks hurt.
Anyway, I didn't want to stray too far off of LaToya's story, but there's so much that happens in the documentary that is foolish as well. So, after Mika and her kids leave the first time before Erica apparently becomes possessed, right after they leave, Zach gets one of his possessions and pretends to reach out to attack cameraman Jay. Although Billy does nothing to stop it. He just keeps filming. And
it's not really scary, is it? Zach
No.
attacking you. It's like, what?
And
What are
then
you trying to do?
they take Zach outside, and Zach suddenly looks up and looks bewildered and says, Billy, what the fuck just happened? And it's just ridiculous.
You almost got your ass kicked, Zach. That's what normally happens.
Right. But that's not the only time he has that experience. So, as we mentioned, probably 40 minutes ago, enter Dr. Barry Taff. So,
PhD.
yes. Yes.
See, at least he's got a claim to being a ghost hunter, albeit as tenuous as I think it is.
He is a parapsychologist.
Exactly.
Crazy maybe, but
he's
he
not
is
as
a
good as
parapsychologist.
He's probably just trying to catch up with Zach Baggins.
That's true. And I
number one in the world.
Yeah.
am not surprised that they worked together. I had forgotten when we talked about the entity last week, I had forgotten that Taff was in this as well. But anyway, so he comes on screen and he's got all kinds of gadgets. Everything seems to be kind of normal. I'm going to read what's on here because none of this makes sense, but it'll make perfect sense, I'm sure, to John, maybe Adam.
I'm not sure. I don't know if to say that was a compliment or not now. Wow.
Well, it's like I read this like 45 times and I'm still like, I don't get it. But so this is talking about Barry's trip to the house. So Dr. Taff tells us that, let me back up here. So everything seems normal until they get to the 60 hertz calibrated tri-field meter. Dr. Taff tells us that then a few feet away from the wall in the basement, about halfway up my body, I started seeing like a 1 hertz oscillation. The scene shows both Dr. Taff and Baggins in the basement of the house and Taff holding the meter as the needle bounces around. Baggins then does a mini possession routine, complaining that his eyes are hurting. Kenny suggests maybe because he's not wearing the glasses that he had on earlier. Anyway, when he comes back to stand by Dr. Taff, the meter is now bouncing around while being held just in front of Baggins, who has his hands in his coat pockets. Dr. Taff claims that Baggins is giving off 200 megagauss. Is that what MG is? Megagauss? Okay, menagauss. And we see the meter needle bouncing around on the right side of the scales. So this is where Kenny kind of breaks this down for us. There are a lot of things wrong with this scene, many of which would not be obvious to the casual viewer, Sarah Hyatt included. First, even though the meter is calibrated at 60 hertz plus or negative 20% of reading, it has a frequency range of 40 hertz to 100 kilohertz. This means that the device is measuring the strength of any magnetic field within that range, not just the strength of a 60 hertz frequency. The meter does not distinguish between the frequencies it is measuring. The calibrated at 60 hertz is an important fact since the plus or minus 20% that comes with that affects accurate readings. A 20 milligauss reading, if it is measuring only a 60 hertz field, could be an actual reading anywhere between 16 hertz and 24 hertz. This margin of error is only at 60 hertz. We don't know how far off the meter would be if it's measuring frequency above and below that calibration. Dr. Taff makes a statement that he's getting a 1 hertz oscillation.
1 hertz isn't a lot.
Right. The meter is set to read magnetic fields, which displays on measurement in milligauss, not hertz. Hertz is a unit of frequency, while milligauss, which the meter is displaying, is measurement of field strength. This may just be an honest mistake, but it's still worth pointing out, Kenny says. What really stands out during this segment is that Dr. Taff has the meter on a lower setting. It is set to magnetic 0 to 3 milligauss mode, both when we see them in the basement and a few moments later when he claims to have a 20 milligauss reading directly in front of Baggins. The meter is just about against Baggins' chest. At one point, Dr. Taff turns to Baggins and puts the meter to his chest, but nothing happens. Dr. Taff then can be heard softly saying, "Let's try magnetic," and switches the selection dial from electric to a magnetic 0 to 3. This gives the crew the effect that they were hoping for. Dr. Taff states, look, it's magnetic. We didn't get that before, did we? During an interview scene that is cut in, Dr. Taff is saying, 20 milligauss coming off you. That's a little high. Why would your body be emitting? Now remember, biomagnetic fields are really weak. You would need a superconducting sensor. The mode selection dial. Huh?
Actually, not that weak. And you could test that with a piece of styrofoam. In fact, when we were doing it yesterday, me and the director where I work, he had about that, or you can't see it's on radio, about 1 inch thick, big plate of styrofoam.
Mm-hmm.
And he was making fun of me, saying, "Ooh, look." And he was going with his hand near it, and he was moving it with his hand without touching it. And I mean, that static and everything else that your body keeps as a charge.
Yeah.
You can charge your body. It doesn't have to be your body's creating it.
Right.
You get statically charged. I mean, people know that when they touch something in the winter and they get
oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, and you can look at, I mean,
that doesn't mean anything.
I'd have to look back, but it'd be curious to see what Beggins was wearing.
Well, I'll tell you in a second.
Get lost.
So, Kenny goes on to say the mode selection dial on the meter can clearly be seen set to the 0 to 3 scale. This would make the reading between 2 and 3 milligauss, not 20 milligauss, when reading the correct scale. The reading was simply not accurate. The needle on the display was bouncing around like it was overloaded. So Kenny reached out to Dr. Taft, was unable to get a hold of him. He just wanted to comment on the discrepancies. He then reached out to Alpha Lab, who makes the tri-field meter. I mean, this guy did his research and basically just confirmed everything that he just read, which none of that makes any sense to me. But there are some things to note. So when Zach is standing in front of Barry Taft, they're in the basement. Zach's wearing a kind of hooded sweatshirt, has his hands in his pockets. Likely has a cell phone in his pocket. But Alpha Lab also said a 3 milligauss reading would be a typical reading in a house that had power on. This is consistent with the readings we see in the film, which bounce between 2 and 4 milligauss, since it was set at the 0 to 3 scale. So when he said 20 milligauss, it was really just 2.
Here's the other thing that makes me kind of dubious is, and I'm not going to mention names, but I know a couple of the paranormal investigation things on TV do it. So they say, look, we're super great. We've got rid of the K2. We've got the tri-field. We use the tri-field. We're doing it properly. But they also open the tri-field up and remove a lot of the shielding. So now you got radio waves and everything coming through, and it's bouncing around like crazy. They're saying, look, even the tri-field's going crazy.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, because as I was reading this, even though I didn't understand the majority of that, it's very clear that a majority of the people who are using the tri-field meter are misusing it or don't understand it.
Right. Correct.
Like, I never would have known the 0 to 3 scale made a difference, or that 3 milligauss is a typical reading for a house with power on, because the motors in all the fans that we have.
Honestly, you don't need to. I mean, I'm not a scientist. When I was doing this discussion with the radio that I'm trying to develop, and the software engineer saying, well, what are the parameters? And I'm like, and I'm having to dig. So I've been doing that as far as, 1 hertz, 100 hertz, millihertz, megahertz, and where the bands are. So I kind of understand that. And then there's also bandwidth of how much it's pulling in, the width of, so some of them, it's a very small band. So it's only listening to a small part of it. FM is pretty big. It's like 100. So to get all of it, if you bring it in, you're only hearing part of it, and it's all crackly. So there's things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the reason you use a tri-field, even if you're not up to it 100% on that stuff, which I'm not, and I definitely wasn't at the beginning, is you go around and you just take a base reading every day.
Yes.
So, if it's jumping around 3 hertz, then it's jumping around 3 hertz. And if it starts jumping around more than that, take the time to say, okay, did anything turn on? It's, as far as I'm concerned, the science can all come later, but to know what to mark down as this may be different if it starts moving around, but you got to take the base reading first and not just, it's at this, wait for a minute or something.
Yeah.
And it may jump around at intervals. If it does, mark it down. If it jumps around, fine. If it jumps around again, mark down the times. If you're like, it's doing it for 10 minutes, it's probably something in the house.
Yeah.
You don't have to understand all the science. You can do that later. My tip for the week.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, because I think that people feel like they look smarter using the tri-field meter, but they really have no clue what they're doing.
Well, and then the other thing that's annoying is, someone like Taft, another reason I don't like him, because he's so into this, I've got a PhD, and then he'll just fling a bunch of numbers out there.
Yeah.
And honestly, he knows you don't understand them, but you can't argue that because you don't know what you're arguing against. He's a PhD and he's saying this is true, and he throws out all this technical stuff. You're going to have to go away and work very hard to come back and say you're talking crap.
Right.
You know, and even then you're not going to convince other people because he's got a PhD and you don't.
Right. So there's still so much to talk about, and we're at an hour 20 right now. So I'm wondering if we shouldn't do this as a 2.
Part 2.
Do we have to?
Yeah, because I want to talk about it.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, we'll do part 2.
All right, I'll give you my 2 cents, and then we'll move on next time and maybe do it in depth. Is for me, the facts are the kids were irregular at school before she moved into that place.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about that too. I'm with you on that.
You know, and they were irregular after she moved out of that place. People before, nothing. People that moved in after, nothing. And also, she was behind on the rent by quite a bit. So that's an easy thing. Hey, it starts off with, I'm not paying the rent. It's full of flies. You've got a pest problem. Oh, that's not working.
Right. Well, so here's part of the reason I want to talk about this a little bit more and keep talking about it is because there's so many people who are doing private investigations. And we've got one here that we can dissect that hopefully there's somebody listening who will maybe listen to this and go, oh, you know, these aren't things I was thinking about before when I was doing these private investigations, because you could run into any of this stuff anywhere. This is not just a Carolina Street, Gary, Indiana situation.
Yeah. So we'll use it as a template.
I mean, these claims could be made by anyone.
So the moral of this tale is, don't get famous and spend $5 million on supposedly haunted things.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that either.
Because that's not good investigating.
No. Makes you a douche.
Because I do want to talk more in depth about what was happening to LaToya and her family, because I just breezed over the top of that.
No, that's fine.
And then I want to talk about the rest of what happens in the documentary, because we've still got some possessions to handle.
You can make me watch this stupid documentary.
I am. I think you should.
I don't know. That's
we could turn it on right
now. No, I'm just put rusty spoons in my eyes. Oh my God. All right. I can't stand. I tell you, we watched, me and Nico. Nico? Hi, Nico. You're probably listening. We watched The Squirrel Cage, Ghost Adventures.
Oh, did you?
Yep. We went there before he did.
Yeah.
And I about ripped the TV off the wall. I can't even listen to him.
That's how I felt when we watched the first Edinburgh one. I was so fucking pissed.
He screws up the history.
Yes.
And then he just went on about this axe murder that's put a hex on everybody.
God,
yes. And it's like, dude. And then here's the one that really got my goat, is that the upstairs apartment, right in the middle of that, I mean, you guys know, but listeners don't, is the shaft that leads to where the shaft is that turn the cells is in the middle of that apartment. And because the cells are open and the toilets and the drain pipes and everything was in there, that apartment was very loud because it was coming up, and it stunk to high heaven because it was all coming up from below. So that's why
they didn't have air conditioner, friends.
And the warden didn't live there. Now, if you listen to Zach, it was so haunted he couldn't stay there.
No.
Right.
Things were going bad. Oh.
Well, and the thing is that when the girl gave us the tour, she didn't even.
No, she said not much has happened in the jail.
Right.
But a lot has happened in the apartment.
Right. But she even stated, though, that the reason they moved was because it smelled so bad from the sewage coming up, and it was super hot.
Yeah, stink of sewage, and plus all the loud noises.
Did Kat get to make it on screen?
We didn't see her, no. There were a couple there that were like, ooh, and they disagree with him because he's a celebrity, and they're not going to say, Zach, shut up.
Yeah.
In front of cameras. And even if they did, they're not going to show it in the live.
Right.
That was part of my problem with the Edinburgh episode as well, because Hannah, who has given us tours of the place before, super nice girl. I appreciate her. but she was very dramatic. And I've never seen her act that way in that building before. Like, she's always been very comfortable.
They get primed.
You enter Zach Bagans, and all of a sudden she's very uncomfortable being on the second floor by herself. And even Josh. I mean, Josh, he was less, but, and I really like Josh as a person. I like him a lot. He's helped with the Granger house. I do hope that he comes back. They just realized that they had too much on their plate, and that's fair. But I really do like Josh. But I do think that he is the source of the Joker. And so that was really built up as well.
The thing is, though, all these people, and when we go back to the scroll cage, I'm going to talk to them, because when you talk to the people that run Edinburgh, and they talk about Zach Bagans when he was there, they all just make fun of him.
Yeah.
Say, he's an absolute idiot. And he hardly went in the place.
Yeah.
He stayed in a little house.
Oh, yeah. Cindy, I mean, I've heard Cindy mention a few things, too, so.
In fact, there's a couple of times he ran out, apparently. So
stupid.
Yep.
So stupid. Okay. So I realized.
Assassination.
Right, we're going to get to here shortly. I realize we've been kind of all over the place and probably a little hard to follow, but stick with us. Come back next week.
It might be worth it.
Yeah, it might be. Come back next week. Hopefully we'll tie everything together. There's just so much, because you've got two chapters to the story. You've got the LaToya Amons chapter, and you've got the Zach Bagans chapter.
Well, plus the investigations. I mean, the whole investigation side of it. Okay, you get the story, and then you get the investigation that comes later, which leads to the book.
Yeah.
And the investigation, honestly, probably would never have happened if it hadn't made the newspaper. So.
Or as Skeptical Inquirer points out, what investigation?
Well, I was using the term loosely.
All right. What I'm going to do is I am going to post on the Facebook and the Twitter the articles that I read, so you can check those out too. I'm going to post the one that started the whole thing from the Indie Star. And then there's actually two from Skeptical Inquirer. I'm going to include both of those. Just a tidbit. I was curious because you may have noticed, especially if you watched the documentary, that Zach was pretty pissed because there was a movie producer who LaToya had sold the rights to the story to, and they never said who it was. So I looked it up, and it's actually Lee Daniels, and I wasn't overly familiar with him. I guess he had a movie called The Butler and another one called The Paperboy, but he got involved with whoever did The Conjuring. And together, they were going to do a movie called Demon House. And Zach beat them to that, apparently. So LaToya never really did talk to Zach on camera because she had sold her rights. That's what Mr. Daniels argued. But so I thought I'd give that tidbit. Anyway, I'm going to put the Indie Star story, the two from the Skeptical Inquirer, because
a lot of money for not.
Yeah, I think it's important to get both sides of the story. And the next week we'll tie everything up and give you our opinions on everything. And I really want to dig deep because, like I said, I think this could be a valuable learning lesson to people, especially who are doing private investigations, because it just is. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to.
Because I said so. Damn it.
So if you want to catch up with John, you can find him, of course, on the Facebook and the Twitter. Not on the Twitter. Just the Facebook.
Nope, not on the Twitter.
The Facebook and the YouTube.
Facebook's hard enough for me.
Right? At WTFinvestigations.com is the website. And that, of course, is how you find them on YouTube and Facebook as well.
Just go to the website. We got links to both.
Yeah. Easier that way.
Yep.
If you want to catch up with me, you can do so on Facebook at See Paranormal Sarah. It's SEE Paranormal Sarah with an H. And if you want to catch up with the three of us, it's exciting. You can do that on the Facebook and the Twitter at seekingtheparanormal.com.
Why did the Eagles' Life in the Fast Lane came into my mind? I'm like, no, that's not right. Maybe Life in the Oncoming Traffic. That might be a better one.
So you can catch up with us, Seeking the Paranormal, Facebook and Twitter. Give us a like on Facebook. Or follow us on Twitter. That's always cool too. And you, of course, obviously, if you're listening to this, you've already figured out how to hear us, but you can catch us on just about any place that has podcasts.
Tell your friends, especially the ones you don't like.
I know, we really
because we ramble on quite a bit. You can waste some of their lives.
Hence the
we give you the
90-minute episode we've got here. We really are working on trying to narrow these down, but
There's just a lot to talk about. Don't laugh. We're trying.
I wasn't. I was smirking.
Okay. All right, my friends. Thank you so much. We will tie this up next week. Until then, keep seeking the paranormal.
And we're out. Good show, guys.
Thank you for listening, and be sure to follow Seeking the Paranormal on Facebook at Seeking the Paranormal, and also on Twitter at Seeking the P.